Bayo Atoyebia, newspaper reviewer, is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, Claire, you want to kick off? The lead stories are basically the same, arising from electoral issues.
Okay, let's start with the nation. And the nation has the lead story as Soludo is governor-elect. Soludo is governor-elect. That's on the front page of the nation. And INEC declares Abuja candidate winner of Anambra poll. And just insert there, you see how the parties stand. As predicted, the four main parties, Abuja, PDP, APC, and YPP. And of course, the number of votes they polled during the, if the camera can just tilt a bit down, and you'll find that's it. That's it. So, INEC declares Abuja candidate winner of Anambra poll. Let's now take you a little just above that story. Proposed revenue sharing formula pits federal government against states is to your right-hand column. It's there. Direct primary governors, National Assembly clash. That should be to your left now. That story continues on page 4. And we move up the nameplate. Government proposes death penalty for illegal gold miners. Details of that on page 2. 7 policemen, Air Force chief in Zamfara and Kaduna. And crude oil production drops to 1.52 million barrels per day. And Buhari in France for Peace Forum. Kingsley, that's...
Okay, we'll take a look also at the leadership newspaper. We just start from immediately below the name flag right down to the foot of the window page. Federal government and states to combat hunger with Operation Feed Yourself. Federal government and states to combat hunger with Operation Feed Yourself. The lead story comes with a kicker, and that is Electoral Act Amendment Bill. APC, PDP kick as National Assembly approves direct primaries. Lawmakers okay electronic transmission of election results and use of technology. Details of that story on page 4. President Muhammadu Buhari in Paris for Peace Forum. That's on the left-hand side. That's the first column from the left side. Bandits abduct 14 Zaria local government workers. Local government areas get 3% increase in new revenue sharing formula. That's a proposal still. They haven't received it. Police to get new salary structure. After leadership report, NNPC reverts to Naira charges on port dues. And finally, Soludo wins Anambra governorship polls. And you can see the scores there. Claire had earlier read out those scores. Bayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Well, the story of Anambra election dominates the paper. A candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance has emerged the winner of the Anambra election. The returning officer, Professor Florence Obi, declared that Charles Chukwuma Soludo of Abuja, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared winner and is returned elected. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar says that he polled 112,239 votes and won in 19 of the 21 local government area, including the Hiala, the supplementary election yesterday. Valentine Ozigbo of PDP polled 53,807, while Andy Uba of the All Progressive Congress got 43,285. The Ivan Uba of the YPP polled 21,261. Anambra election caused a lot of anxieties, and it turned out to be largely peaceful. Police had polled over 37,000 personnel, civil defense over 20,000 personnel. The DSS was there massively, so also was the army. It was plagued by late arrival of materials, and INEC mobilized personnel and material. But there were glitches. Some were caused by transporters contracted by INEC who pulled out at the last minute out of fear. So also were some ad hoc staffs, and therefore INEC was left stranded. But they were able to manage the situation.
I would just want, I wanted to ask, you know, in reviewing these Anambra elections, I think what the Ihiala supplementary elections did was probably to give a stamp of credibility on the process. A thumbs up for INEC, isn't it?
Well, you see, by the time they had declared the results for 20 local government and one was outstanding, the Hiala, you had a population of 148,000 voters that were on the registered vote at Hiala. And therefore, if you look at the margin between the lead candidates, it was far, far less than the 148,000. So to fulfill the requirements of the law, INEC had to do that. And when it came to Ihiala, the supplementary election, Abuja led with 8,283 votes. The PDP had 2,485, while YPP had 344. APC had 343.
So one would expect that, I mean, with the clarity or transparency and with all the observations made by, you know, the election observation monitors and all that, one would expect that, I mean, this should have just been a straight, okay, congratulatory message, Mr. Governor-elect, congratulations, and you know.
Well, it isn't exactly that straightforward. Even the primaries were acrimonious.
Yes.
And I think there are still some cases
pending
arising from those pre-election issues. And the gale of litigation is unlikely to stop just now. If any party or any candidate feels that it has a genuine case, of course, it is within its right to pursue that. So let's see how that plays out. But there are key features of the Anambra election that are quite worrisome. Quite worrisome. Now, when you look at the total number of votes cast, I'm not quite sure what the number, it's less than 400,000.
Yes. Indeed.
About just about 300 and something thousand, which is just about 15% of registered
votes.
Yes, of registered voters in Anambra. One local governments that would ensure that a winner emerges. And in this case, we are saying 15% voter turnout. It's dismal. No question. And then you then ask the question, because when we took on the topic on Monday, our regular analyst, Ezenwa Wago, was asking, because I posed the question to him because he was in Anambra for several weeks before the election, and immediately after the election, he returned. Go and check the figures that the political parties were returning during their primaries. Where were those voters now when it came to election time?
But Kester, you know, I think it was on Friday last week when we had this discussion. We said two things could impact on the turnout of voters in Anambra election. First, tradition. Historically, the Southeast, you know, turns out very low. I mean, has this history of voter apathy. That is one. And then you have the threats, you know, and the sit-at-homes and all that. And unfortunately, as at the time we hear, when the sit-at-home was, recalled, when IPOB, you know, asked people to go back, it didn't circulate. The information didn't circulate. So a lot of people didn't actually get to hear that, look, you can come out and cast your vote, you know. So they stayed at home. You remember, this was one of the logistic issues that happened, I think, in Ihiala. By the time, you know, the transporters got to know that they could come out and you know, time was gone.
Yeah. So well, that is true, but Claire, the point is, the low voter turnout is a feature in Anambra, not necessarily the entire Southeast. But the other point is, I mean, the figures I'm just getting now, our producer is just sending this to me now. Total number of registered voters in Anambra, 2.5 million. Accredited voters, 253,388. Valid votes, 241,500. 523. Then invalid votes, you have 8,100. So this is about, you have about 250,000 voters who came out. The percentage is pretty low, clear. The security situation you were talking about, the unknown gunmen who were on the rampage ahead of the elections and even during the primaries could have disrupted the primaries. But that's why I'm saying, let us go back and check the figures that the parties were posting during the primaries. So where were those party members when it now came to election time?
Anyway, Kingston, you know we have this as a part of our second leg topic for today. So then we'll have the political scientists look at the issues critically. What are the issues? What could have gone wrong by you? But let's also take a look at other stories.
But Claire, before we take another story, congratulations to the winner who's been declared. That's Soludo, governor-elect. Soludo will be the second 1984 graduate of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to be governor of Anambra State.
Oh my God.
Peter Obi, no, hang on a second. Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State. He was of the class of 84. He studied philosophy. Soludo studied economics, also class of 84. So he will be the second. He will also be the second former governor of a central bank to become the governor of a state once he's sworn in. Clement Isong was governor of central bank and he later became governor of Old Cross River State.
Kingston, what class are you? Kingston?
That's out of the question.
Is of Kingston is of UNN.
No, it's not. It's not
of
the issue.
UNN. So
It's apart from
No. That's not. My biographical details are off limits for this
just
conversation.
background information.
Background
honestly,
information. We can discuss that off.
I appreciate the details, Kingsley. But let's go on. Okay, let's quickly. Bayo, you just have less than 2 minutes.
Okay,
if the producer allows that. Well, so, Kingsley, do you have any other story you would like him to review?
Well, there's a story that we talked about. It is not here on the front page of the papers. That is the conviction of Mena, the former pension chief, who has been sentenced to 61 years, running concurrently, going to 8 years. The judge pointed out that 2 banks, UBA and Fidelity Bank, ought to have been charged along with Mena because they used those banks as the conduit for the over 2 billion naira fraud.
That is laundering.
Well, yeah. So, but that's to say, they were the judge in his considered judgment said, considered judgment, that those banks served as conduits and wondered why they were not charged along with it. In my respectful view, that should not be the end of the matter because they said that they opened fictitious bank accounts. So what is the regulator of the industry now going to do to those 2 banks? What is the regulator? Did you follow the banking regulations? And if you didn't follow and you served as a conduit for defrauding pensioners, who the judge, of course, came down heavily on those persons. So what will the CBN do to those 2 institutions?
NDIC, Financial Intelligence Unit, all of them they have something to do there.
We can only just wait, watch, and see what happens, Bayo. I'm afraid you won't be able to take more of your yellow pages.
Okay, thank you.
Yellow pages, those are advertisements. But this is an interesting one. Operation Feed Yourself.
Yes.
I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yes, you are going to